Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we're standing because I'm gonna do an updated bookshelf tour, kind of like an overview how I display my books and how they're sorted and all of that stuff, because I changed it up a little bit, made it a little bit more organized and a little more to my taste when it comes to how they are displayed. Because I don't personally like either sorting by color or by alphabet, which is the things I see most often. I sort my books by feeling, which, if I feel like a book belongs in that space, I'm gonna put it in that space, and that is my philosophy for my shelves, because the only person that needs to find books on these shelves is myself. If I ever invite people into my space and they want to look at my books, they obviously can. And if they want to see a particular book, I can tell them where it is. But yeah, other than that, the shelves only need to function for myself, and so I'm sorting that for that kind of thing. To give an overview, I have 7 shelves in this room. 5 of them are these normal bookshelves, and then I have 2 smaller ones. Those are pretty much like the shelves that are in this room, and then I have one more from of these like bigger shelves in the adjacent room, which is chaos, and they are all older books and childhood books and stuff like that. So we're not gonna look at that bookshelf because it looks like it exploded in there. I need to sort that out. They're also not obviously prominently displayed because the adjoining room is like a storage area that I'm kind of making into a hobby room for all of my crafting and stuff. It is a really small room, so nobody is really gonna see those books. They are just there because I don't want to part from them, because I do have a lot of memories of them, but I also don't like actively reread them or like how they look for a lot of them, so I don't want to actively display them in this room. So yeah, that is kind of where we're at right now. And the first bookshelf we are starting with is this one, which is my TBR shelf. We're gonna start up here. These are all of my hardcovers that I have on my TBR. We have some Rick Riordan, we have the Wheel of Time series that I still need to continue, a little bit of Stephen King, and then these are all book box books, all of these, and then these ones as well, which I'm slowly making my way through. But yeah, and then we have my Brandon Sanderson that I haven't read yet. As you can see, I have these really pretty versions that I still haven't continued with. Then we have the, what is the series called? Red Rising series, completely here. My Malice ones, the David Eddings books that I still need to read, though I'm waiting on 3 more to add to my TBR that are on their way to me. And then we have a little more Brandon Sanderson and Adrian Tchaikovsky, so all of those books. Those are the books I like to look at the most, because these books kind of have priority, the first 3 shelves from my TBR, so that is why they are up there, so I can see them more easily. And then we have the lower 3 shelves, which this is my active TBR, these 2 books, and then we have a few more book books, and then Stieg Larsson's, which is The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I don't know what the series is called, but I need to continue those, but they make me too sad. Then we have like some Patrick Ness and a little bit of like some random books that I picked up that are like one book from one author that I haven't read anything else from, so those live kind of there. And then down here we have all of the secondhand books I bought, and then I'm slowly making my way through, which a lot of them I kind of regret buying so much of because I don't particularly love them anymore, but I'm still making my way through them. And that is kind of like the Clive Castler. We have a lot of Anne Rice, but I don't have any finished series, and I don't have the beginning of series, which make it hard. Then we have some Michael Crichton, some Robert Ludlum, and like the first shelves down here we have some James Patterson, Karen Slaughter, James Rowlands, and then a lot of older fantasy books from authors. Like a lot of them are from Mercedes Lackey and Maggie Fury. So yeah, I'm kind of want to make my way through them, but I have so much more current fantasy that I want to get through, and David Eddings, that I kind of don't get to them. So they are down here because I don't really look at them. Also, I have up there, I have a few German World of Warcraft books that my mom actually gave me because she didn't want to keep them anymore. They are kind of like falling a little bit over up there. But yeah, I didn't know where to put them because they are on my TBR, but they are not a priority and they didn't fit into the shelf anymore, so they live up top of the shelf. Then, now we're coming to my favorite shelf, and this is my favorites. It is the one I love the most, and it is the books that I love the most. We have my Stephen King books up here. These are not all of my Stephen King books because I couldn't fit all of my Stephen King books on here. So we have a few more in other places, but these are kind of like all of the ones I really love from Stephen King. And yeah, they get to live up there. I think they look really nice, so that is where they're living. Then we have a few of my favorite horror books. We have Bad Eater, The Eyes Are the Best Part, then two of the Christina Henry novels, which are the Alice ones, and Into the Drowning Deep, which is my favorite mermaid horror book. Then we have my Lego typewriter, which I really, really love. I got this from my husband for, I think, a birthday. And yeah, I love it. It looks so good. Then we have Area X and Michael Crichton, Jurassic World, one of my favorites, I have to say. After that, we have the favorite fantasy shelf, which is obviously The Lord of the Rings by Tolkien and all of the books that belong to that. Then we have my David Edding, and it didn't fit anymore. So that is all of the fantasy I could fit on that shelf because I have so much from both of those authors, and it is only going to be more. So yeah, I'm kind of running into space problems with that, with my favorite shelves, but I did want to display all of these because I love them so much, and yeah, they have a special place in my heart, and they will be visible when I film my videos because I film in front of the shelf, so I wanted them to kind of be visible in all of the videos I film. Then going down again, we have a bit more fantasy and some sci-fi. We have my Nicholas Eames fantasy, which is like a funny fantasy. Then we have the first Miss Bond series, which is my absolute favorite series by Brandon Sanderson. The rest of his books are on another shelf because I just didn't have the space on this shelf. Then we have my Adrian Tchaikovsky, The Children of Time trilogy, one of my absolute favorite sci-fis, as well as the Hyperion series, and then some Andy Weir and the Stardust Sea. So yeah, those are kind of a few more favorites that I did want to have on the favorite shelves, but they, you know, aren't quite on top of that level. And then down here we have kind of some miscellaneous favorites that maybe aren't like 5 stars, but books I really cherish nonetheless. And we have Pan's Labyrinth there, one of my absolute favorite movies and books. Then we have all of my Alien books because I really love my collection of Alien books. Even though I don't love all of them story-wise, I do love the Alien franchise, and so they do have to live here. And then we have a little bit of true crime because I am an avid true crime reader, and I am making my way through a lot of them to kind of find out which are the good ones, which are made in kind of an ethical way, kind of like that. And then we have kind of a weird book, but I really love this one, and this is House of Leaves by Mark C. Danielewski. And it is kind of like an interactive book with a lot of like comments and stuff. It's a really, really weird novel, and I loved the experience of reading it. So yeah, those are all of the favorite books, and yeah, I love having them all in one shelf. So if somebody asks me what they should read, I can just tell them to go to the shelf and just pick one. And then down here we have my crochet, not crochet supplies, my cross stitch supplies. They go down here because they are also favorite. Okay, just to give you an overview, these are the other 4 shelves that are on this wall. We have one of the small shelves because I couldn't fit another big one, and then 3 of the big ones. And we're gonna start up top, which is just gonna be rough. We're not gonna look at them like any nearer because they are kind of a weird collection of books. I didn't really know where to put them else. We have these ones. These are all of my books I got from my grandpa when he passed away. My mom asked me what I wanted to keep in memory of his, and I wanted the books we talked about. He would find passages in those and write them down that he thought fit me, which, you know, we really connected about literature. And those are a lot of German poets and, yeah, authors, like older German authors. We have like the Brothers Grimm, and then we have like Heinz Heine and William Bush. So those are a few of like his favorites, and I got them all. Sadly, they do still feel really sticky because my grandpa was a heavy smoker, and I do still have to try to get that out of them because they don't feel nice to the touch. Let's just say that like it is. Then up here, as you can see, I have a few like box sets of books. The books aren't in there, the books are on the shelf, but I kept the boxes because I don't know what I want to do with them, to be honest. I haven't thought about that nearer, so I'm just keeping them for the time being. I might get rid of them because I don't really want to put the books back in them, but like if I ever move again, it would make kind of sense to put them in there. So yeah, I don't really know what to do with them. Then we have those books, which are the Perry Rhodan books. That is a German book series written by different authors. All of them have the main character Perry Rhodan. And they are a really, really long line of books, and I own the first 8, I think, plus 2 silvery extra ones. I don't particularly love them, but they are a big part of like German history when it comes to sci-fi. And I got them secondhand for a really, really good price, and they looked really nicely when I wanted to try them out. And so they are living up there because I think they are a cool book to own, but I don't really want to read them. So they are up top, and I kind of ignore them. And just, you know, have them displayed because I think it's a cool fact of German sci-fi history that we have like this really, really long standing line of a book series where different authors write about the same guy. And yeah, it's kind of a cool thing, I feel like. Okay, let's look at the smallest shelf first. We have the other ones of my Stephen King books on here. And once I own more, I will just put them down here again and let the books wander down pretty much. But for me, it just makes sense to have the rest here because obviously the other shelf is directly there. It's only a door between them, keeping them separate. So for me, it kind of just made sense. Then we have my classics, which I don't own a whole lot of. I am not an avid classics reader. I don't really care for a lot of them. But you know, I have Dracula, The Picture of Dorian Gray, the Sherlock Holmes novels, The Jungle Book, Alice in Wonderland. You know, all of those books I do have here. Because I think a few classics don't hurt anybody, but yeah, you will never see me read Jane Eyre or something like that because I just don't like it. Then I have a few more true crime books, some that I don't particularly love, but you know, I read them and I own them, so they are on display. And then we have my non-fiction books, which this one is by far my favorite, which is a book about stress and handling your emotions, and it's called Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers by Robert M. Sapolsky, which is one of those books that really helped me become a better me pretty much, but like also handling stress better and listening more to my emotions, which was a really, really good read, which I would really recommend. And then a little bit further down, which these are the last books that are on this shelf, are a few non-fiction books about Egyptian history that I used for my studies when I studied Egyptology. Those are the last of the books on this shelf. I left a lot of space there because I know that my Stephen King collection will grow, and so I can just, you know, put the other books down and fill the rest with Stephen King. I have 2 full of these empty, but they're not empty, it's Lego and puzzles in there, but you know, those aren't the things you're here for, so you don't need to see those. Next up, we're coming to the last big bookshelves. This is gonna be a long video, I'm really sorry. Up here we have all of the bound books I have out of book boxes. Whether I like them or not, they are all going here because they look really nice together. I think the only ones not out of book boxes are Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom and Shadow and Bone. I have these really nice editions, but they fit right in with the other ones, so I put them in with those. Then here we have my other science fiction novels. We have the Expanse series, more Tchaikovsky, Snow Crash, Red Rising, the Paulini books, and then the Illumine files, which is one of my favorite younger sci-fi books, and one that really got me back into reading sci-fi, which I found really cool. So yeah, those are like a lot of the sci-fi books I own, because I don't actually own that many, because I started getting into sci-fi pretty late in life. It only happened a few years ago, so I am still growing that collection, and because of that, I don't have a lot of those. And then the third shelf, we have all of my Brandon Sanderson books. So we have the Arcanum Unbound, Atlantis, the second Miss Bond series, and then The Way of Kings, which obviously I need to continue reading. And then we have Tress, The Sanded Man, and The Frugal Wizard's Handbook, which, as you can see, this is missing the fourth book from the Kickstarter, because I still haven't read that yet. So I only have 3 of them on display, and the other one I still need to read. Down here we have a lot of my Terry Pratchett collection. Actually, it's my husband's Terry Pratchett collection, but he doesn't like touching books. So, like the paper in books, he has a problem with the texture of the paper. So they are living with me because I am actually also reading them, but most of them actually belong to my husband. So yeah, I would have never bought them in this amount because I don't actually love them all. I do get why people love Terry Pratchett, but I don't think, like, he's not a favorite author of mine. But yeah, we have pretty much all of them in these nice hardcover editions that you can get on the Terry Pratchett website on the Discworld Emporium. And then down here, we have the not so important books, let's call them that. There are 3 random thrillers and horror books, and then we have the Dan Brown books, which I've read them all, and the last ones were really disappointing. And then we have like Joy Fielding, you know, a little bit of thrillers that I liked, but I didn't love, and they don't look the greatest, the books, so they are, you know, in the lower shelves because you don't really look at those shelves all that often. Okay, moving on, we have the last of the book box books here, obviously a continuation of the last shelf before that. And then here we have a lot of miscellaneous fantasy. We have my T.J. Klune books, my Tahara Mafi books, and then all of my Shannon Maguire books, which I have quite a few of, I have to say. And then V.E. Schwab is the next author on here. And we have Martha Wells, and, you know, a few miscellaneous fantasy books that, you know, I liked but didn't love. That is kind of the theme going through the books. I did roughly sort them by genre just because I do like books sorted by genre, but I feel like these are ones I enjoy and ones I would go back to, but I don't go back to that often. Obviously, I go back to my favorites much more often. But then on this shelf, we have a few more of ones I like looking at. We have The Name of the Wind, which I personally didn't like. Then we have an anniversary edition of Dune, which I found okay, to be honest. Then we have The Invocations, which I loved that book, but it didn't really fit on my favorite shelves, so I'm just displaying it here. We have Night Circus and a lot of like miscellaneous fantasy as well. The Shannara Chronicles. We have Howl's Moving Castle and the other 3 books in that series. Laini Taylor, and then the Wheel of Time books, the 2 I've read so far. I actually need to go out and buy more, but I want to buy them secondhand in the big versions, which are hard to find for an acceptable price. They can get incredibly expensive. Further down, we have the last of the Terry Pratchett books, continuing from that one. And then we have the more miscellaneous sci-fi that I actually don't go back to that often. So we have Scythe and Jeff Vandermeer here, the 3-Body Problem, and then all of my, what is his name, H.G. Wells books are here. And then we have my sci-fi masterworks, I Am Legend, for example. They are all living here because I don't look at them that often and I don't really love how they are looking. And then down here we have my Clive Cussler books, which, you know, I think they are acceptable adventure novels. I just don't think they are anything special. And then we have my Percy Jackson books, so Rick Riordan books here. I didn't know what to do with them because I just read them when I was too old. I think they just aren't anything I like really enjoy anymore. But I do think they are nice for teenagers. So yeah. I think they're a cool book to own, but I personally don't love reading them. I find them a little bit annoying to read, to be honest. Okay, now let's get to the last shelf. Up here we have the books that annoy me the most at the moment. These are my Neil Gaiman books, which I love the books, don't like the author anymore, which is a particularly annoying topic that I hate talking about. If you kept up with the drama, you know what came out about him, and I'm really, really sad about it. I still love the books. They only fit up here because of these Sandman comics, so they are up here. Normally I would put them down at the last line so you don't really look at them. But yeah, love the books, don't love the author. Probably wouldn't purchase anything new from him anymore. But yeah, it hurt me. It really hurt me when all of that came out. Then here we have a little bit of like the dystopian section of my bookshelves with a little bit of Lego in front of it. We have The Hunger Games, Ready Player One, Inkheart, Justin Cronin, my two retellings, which are Circe and the Heel of Achilles, the Song of Achilles. You know, those books that are a little bit more dystopians and retellings. And then we have my Edgar Rice Burroughs books, which are, well, it's the Martian series. So I got those secondhand. They are funny books, but like they are also really like they feel like anime series or like cartoon series where like every episode is the same, just slightly different, and they feel like that, so they weren't really all that interesting in the end. Down here we have my horror books. They are a little bit harder to see because a lot of them are a lot darker, but yeah, we have Bird Box, Hollow Places, then a little bit of Susan Hill, Guillermo del Toro, and stuff like that. So a lot of my horror books are on these shelves. And then let me go here. Then here we have my Thomas Harris books, which is Hannibal, the series. I really liked the first two books, didn't like the last two particularly much. And then we have my James Rowlands that I read so far, and yeah, they kind of just fit there, so they are living there. And now we are coming to the last books that are on this side of the room. Here we have my complete Kathy Rice series. I think I am missing like 1 or 2 physical books up until part 18 or something like that. So yeah, we have a lot of those here. I hate that they are all different sizes, but I bought them all secondhand. So yeah, I couldn't really, make sure they are the same size, but I do get annoyed looking at these because I hate how they look together, which is a little bit annoying because I do like the books a lot. And then we have my John Grisham books, which I don't particularly love, but they fit kind of theme-wise, so I put them after the Kathy Rice books. Then here we have my Harry Potter books, which, they do make out a big part of my childhood. These are the English ones. I do also own the German copies. But yeah, they made up a big part of my childhood, and as much as I dislike the author now, I still love the books and I will still reread them because I do love them. And then we have the Maze Runner books, which I found to be horrible books. And then the last little books are the ones down here, and those are all of the books I actively really dislike while reading. A lot of them are 80s horror books, but we also have The Catcher in the Rye here, or The Sense of an Ending, because those are the worst pretentious books in my opinion. But yeah, those are pretty much all of the books I actively dislike, and those are the books that will have to go first once I have no more room on my bookshelves and I want to put more books on there. Those are the ones that go first, but up until then, they are allowed to live there. Okay, and now we are at the last bookshelf in this room, and as you can see, this bookshelf is the one that has all of the German books on that aren't in this room, because this is the storage room, and as you can see, it's utter chaos, so I won't go nearer that. I don't think it's necessary. A lot of the books probably don't mean much to a lot of people because they are really, really old. They are from my childhood. And yeah, I just don't feel like cleaning that up for being able to show you. But yeah, these are my favorite German books that I own. Also, a lot of these are from my childhood, but not all of them. I do own 2 of Michael Ende's books, which if you've watched The Never-Ending Story, that is this one, and this one is Momo. I don't know if that was like really a big thing outside of Germany, but we had like a TV series about Momo, and then we had a movie, and they are quite sad. And yeah, I really like the book. I really love the story. So it's one of my favorites. Then we have my German copies of Eragon and Guillermo del Toro's story, which is The Strain, I think, in English. Then we have all of the Walter Mörs books that I own. I really love his books. They are bridging the gap between childhood and adulthood with like these fantasy creatures that live in these fantasy worlds, which are kind of fun and crazy. He's also the one that wrote the 13 and a half years of Captain Bluebeard, which I think is quite a popular book. So yeah, really love those. And then we have my German copy of Alice in Wonderland and Dracula, which, you know, I read them in German first. Let's go a little bit further down. Here we have my German copies of Stephen King's books. Most of these are from my partner because he used to read them in German. He didn't always have a problem with physical copies of books. It's much more when, like, since he's a teenager or something like that. But yeah, he used to read them in German, so that is why we have those here. And then here we have my German Kathy Rice books, which are the ones I started with reading thrillers, which they gave me a love for thrillers, which I will always be really grateful for. And then we have a few more like childhood things. This is a book that my best friend in school gave me, which is a story about philosophy, and it still smells like her. So it holds a lot of memories. And then we have a Junji Ito book, which is Uzumaki, which I really, really loved. Okay, now we're at the first point, so I can't see you. But here we have a few Terry Pratchett books that are in German, that are also from my partner. And then we have a German version of The Hobbit. So this one lives here as well. And then we have one of my favorite childhood fantasy series, which is by a German author called Christoph Marzi, and it felt really similar to an English series, which I don't remember anymore. But yeah, those are like 4 of, I think, the 5 or 6 books that he wrote, but I never finished the series as a child. And then down here we have some German nonfiction. These are books about dead people, if you want to look at it. The author is a criminal anthropologist, I would say, something like that. A criminologist. I don't know what the like English equivalent is to what he does, but yeah, he writes a lot of books about what happens to dead people, about criminal cases, stuff like that, but they are all like from like a scholarly point of view, and so yeah, I really like them. I got to see him in person doing a talk, which I personally didn't like. Like the talk was okay, the things about around the talk, like the whole organization was pretty crappy, so it wasn't the best event, but I still like his books. And then underneath those are all of my illustrated Harry Potter versions. My partner was really nice and started buying them for me when they came out for my birthday, before everything went to shit with the author. So he stopped buying them once we couldn't ethically and morally buy anything from the author anymore. So I have an incomplete collection, which kind of annoys me because they are incredibly pretty books. The illustrations are really, really pretty. They read really, really nicely like that. But yeah, I just cannot, for the life of me, go and buy the last of them because I just don't think it's okay. So that is where we're at with that. So yeah, those are all of the books that I have in this room, which is pretty much most of my collection, except for the few books that are in the other room, which are like, I would say, 3 of these shelves stacked double, so 2 books deep, all of the books that are in there. So we have a few DNFs in there, and then a lot of childhood books. My Twilight books, for example, are in there, my German copies. So, you know, just to get a feeling what is in there. But yeah, those are all of the books and how I organized them by feeling and genre combined. Though these, for example, aren't sorted by genre. They are just because they are all of the same type and they look nice together. So it's a little bit of like, you know, looking nice, feeling like the book suits the place that is in the bookshelf, and then a little bit of like grouping authors together. But I do have authors that are on 2 spaces in my shelves just because, you know, I do have authors where I love some books and I don't love others, and so I do not always put them together, because for me it's more important that like my favorite books stand together and the books that I feel similar about stand together, than rather than that the author completely has his books in one place. That works for me. I don't think it would work for everyone. I think like how you sort your books seems to, it's like a really really personal thing. So yeah, thank you for being here and looking at my book collection with me. Obviously, this is not like a super curated collection just because I have the space to not need to curate my collection so far. But should I ever buy more books than I have space for in this room, I will start curating my collection and getting rid of the books that I don't love. Because in the end, I do want my collection to primarily consist of books that I absolutely love and that I would recommend and reread. But at the moment, I don't need to, because I have more than enough space, because I don't actively buy that many books anymore. I do try to get my physical TBR down, and so I don't really add that many books to my physical book collection. And I do tend to, more often than not, try an audiobook if I want to try a book, or try the digital copy in my library. So yeah, from my library. So yeah, I would love for this collection to someday be really, really curated. At the moment, it doesn't make sense, because when I take out all of the books that I don't love, my bookshelves would look a lot more sparse, and I personally love the look of full bookshelves. So, you know, that is why I have my collection at this point, how it is, and have like one favorite shelves. And then the rest of them are just, you know, the collection in general. So, yeah. Um, Please leave a comment down below how you sort your book collection and how it's organized for you. I love to hear how different people organize their books and why. So if you do want to, you know, let that be known, do it in my comment section. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this little glimpse into, you know, my life and how I deal with my books. And yeah, thank you for watching. I will hopefully see you in the next video. Bye bye.